Overview of environmental challenges. Climate change, impact, and solutions. Here, we'll talk about what climate change means and what we can do about it. Air pollution and its effects. What is the cause of air pollution, and how does it impact us as humans and the world? Climate change. Myths and ozone protections. Here we'll look at common misconceptions about climate change and how we can protect the ozone. Waste management and sustainability. Dealing with human waste and industrial pollution is a global problem which requires global and local solutions. Climate change. The global reality. 97% of scientists have come to a consensus that humans have indeed influenced climate change. We've been able to record a rise in global temperatures of 1.1 degrees Celsius since pre-industrial times. It is a proven fact that each fraction of a degree that the globe warms makes climate change more impactful. What are the local impacts? Changes in rainfall has drastic effects on agriculture. It can also cause frequent or extreme weather events, flooding, tornadoes, and hurricanes. As global temperature rises, ice melts and sea levels rise. This threatens coastal communities and puts island nations at particular risk. What are the solutions to climate change? For local implementation, we can transition to renewable energy sources. This is finding ways to generate electricity from wind or solar power. Energy efficient improvements in buildings and transportation. By making better designed transportation systems, making transportation more accessible, and designing our buildings to be more energy efficient, we can have an impact on climate change. Community-based adaptation programs. It's important for the community to be involved with any solution. On the global cooperation scale, we have the Paris Agreement. This is a goal that is supposed to limit global warming to under 2 degrees Celsius. Also, the Montreal Protocol is set to phase out substances which deplete the ozone. The Kigali Amendment is set to reduce HFCs to prevent global warming by the year 2100. What is air pollution? Major pollutants are particulate matter, particularly PM 2.5 and PM 10. This means they are particulate matters with a diameter of 2.5 microns or 10 microns. This particulate matter can accumulate in rain and in air and can cause respiratory illnesses. Another major pollutant is the chemical reaction between NOx and VOCs. Sources of air pollution comes from vehicle emissions. Industrial processes such as manufacturing and construction dust. Also, industrial emissions from power usage and chemical solvents filter into the air. What are the health and environmental impacts of air pollution? The human health consequence. We face increasing rates of respiratory diseases such as asthma and bronchitis. We've also seen a rise in cardiovascular problems. This also poses a risk to vulnerable populations, such as the young and the old. In addition, air pollution causes environmental damage. This can be seen as acid rain, which damages forests and aquatic ecosystems. Acid rain can lead to reduced agricultural yields, both from damage to crops and soil erosion. In addition, acid rain can cause damage to buildings and cultural heritage, along with the smoke and soot, which will cover buildings and cultural sites. Our world faces a waste management crisis. Global waste challenges include the fact that more than 2.1 billion tons of solid waste are generated annually. This is a problem for developing countries, which face challenges in treating and collecting waste. This number is expected to increase to 3.4 billion tons by the year 2050. Adding to this problem, mixing of household, commercial, and hazardous wastes makes sorting and decontamination more problematic. Irregular collection services in the Global South means that some wastes will be uncollected or offer further contamination. Open dumping and burning of hazardous materials is an ongoing crisis in the Global South. The impacts of poor waste management. The environmental consequences include water pollution, air pollution, methane emissions, and soil degradation. Waste that is not properly disposed of or that is burned improperly can cause air pollution, water pollution, and soil pollution. But what are the public health impacts of poor waste management? We've already touched on respiratory problems, but in addition, we also face waterborne diseases and vector-borne diseases. There are also direct health risks with workers who come into contact with industrial waste or air pollution. How can we create sustainable waste management? From an integrated approach, we need to reduce waste at the source, minimize what we produce. This will allow us to improve our collection and transportation systems so waste doesn't sit out in the open. Recycling and material recovery programs are essential to help reduce the raw materials we need and the waste that is improperly disposed of or sitting in landfills. Developing safe treatment and disposal methods is a high priority. How can the community become involved? Through public awareness campaigns, local composting initiatives, and by sorting waste at the source, everyone in a community can become involved. What are climate change myths and the reality? One myth is that cold weather disproves global warming. In fact, weather is a short-term condition, while climate change is a long-term process. We can see that global average temperatures are continuing to rise, even though we may feel a little cold at times. Because the Arctic is warming, this can push cold air southwards. This may cause temporary cold spells. Another myth is that natural gas is clean energy. In reality, natural gas is a fossil fuel. It has significant contributions to greenhouse gases. Methane leaks during natural gas extraction sometimes make it more problematic than coal. In fact, natural gas accounts for 22% of carbon emissions globally. Ozone layer protection. What does the ozone do? The stratospheric ozone absorbs harmful radiation. It protects from skin cancer, cataracts, and damage to the ecosystem. Our reflections. Green job creation. By allowing for sustainable tourism, we can reduce waste, air pollution, and health risks. Waste recycling and processing industries should be a priority to reduce waste. The benefits of these can be seen in the cost savings from reduced health care and from cleaner air. We can also see energy savings when we implement energy-efficient measures. This will also help us to avoid damage from climate change. Conclusion and call to arms. The key takeaways is that environmental challenges are all connected. However, if we tackle them individually, they can be solved. It's important to know that local actions, even on an individual scale, do contribute to global solutions. We should give scientific evidence high priority in guiding our decisions and policies. Community actions do make a difference. Moving forward, we need to continue education and awareness efforts across the globe, from national to community to individual levels. By following support, we should support evidence-based policies. This will help us implement the right strategies. By participating in community and environmental initiatives, we can make a difference. Making sustainable choices in daily life helps us move toward more sustainable options. By advocating for environmental protection measures, we show our community and governments that this is important for us. References.